In today's video, I'll be working on the Chrysler Crossfire, and I'll be replacing the oil level sensor. You see how that oil light comes on when I have this car running? It's not that I'm low on oil, I have low oil pressure. It's that the sensor went bad. So let's replace it. This is the actual part I have to replace. And the part number is 275-905-0000. But it's a couple of different part numbers listed on this box. But it's a Mercedes Benz part. And this is what it looks like. It's the part that goes inside the pan, and the part that comes out with the electrical connector on the outside. You have to drop the lower pan, oil pan, to replace this part. So you can see I have kind of a leak going, but I'll be replacing this gasket and everything. I'm changing the oil. You have to drain the oil and to remove all these screws, bolts around the lower pan, all the way around the lower section of the pan. And the part is actually, if you can see it, well, you can see the top of it. Let me adjust this camera. This is the top of it here, coming out, and this is the electrical connector right here. It goes down into the pan. The rest of it is in the pan. So let me drain this oil, drop this pan, and replace this part. Sit and drain for a little while. Make sure I get at least the majority of the oil out before I start taking loose the bolts for the pan. The socket you have to use to remove the oil pan bolts is a E10 star socket. E10. Despite what people's opinions are about this car, it's actually a very well-built vehicle. I haven't had any problems with it for the time that I had it. I did a few repairs when I first picked up the car, and remember, I got this car from a junkyard. And now this is really the only second semi-major, it's not really major, but a semi-major thing that I had to do to this vehicle. You know, there's a lot of opinions about it. Some people like the styling, some people hate the styling. I actually like it. I liked it when it first came out. It was real expensive when it first came out, but now you can get them for hardly nothing. I don't know if these cars will be a future classic, but who knows? We'll see. The next step is to crack open these screws on the oil pan. Total of 12 screws or bolts you have to remove from the oil pan before you can drop the pan. On the driver's side of the vehicle, on the oil pan, there's a little lip that you can stick a flathead screwdriver or a small pry bar into to help you break the seal on the pan. And that's right here. But I suggest tapping the pan with like a rubber mallet or a dead blow hammer to break the seal before you pry it. I can't find my dead blow hammer or my rubber mallet, so I'm just going to lightly tap it with this ball peen hammer. Just to try to break the seal. It took a little finagling, a lot of prying and a lot of tapping on the corners, but I finally got the seal broken. So now I can pull this pan off. Okay, I got the pan off. And that's the cinder right there, part of the cinder unit. Okay, next up is to remove the cinder. Remove these two screws, one here, one here, and they're the same size as the oil pan. They're the same size bolts as the oil pan bolts, which is E10 star socket, and the same far right. Let me find it. Okay, right here. These two, 1, 2. So it's 4 bolts all together. Remove these 4 bolts from here. These 2 and these 2. And you can pull out the cinder and pop in the new one. One step that I forgot to do, it's not a major thing, I should have did it first, was just to unplug the electrical connection of the sensor before I unscrewed it. But it doesn't matter, as long as you don't pull it out. If you don't forget and start pulling the sensor out before you disconnect the electrical connection. So that's what I have to do now, and then I have the screws out and it just drops right out. To disconnect the connector, you just squeeze and pull comes right out. Squeeze the side, and pull straight out. And now the connector's disconnected from the sensor there. Simple. The part of the sensor that comes out of the pan, in order to pull this out, you have to rock it a little and use a small screwdriver and gently pry it, because that the O-ring that's around this, I'll pull it out now, makes it a tight seal, and it may be a little stiff if you've been in the car for a while to get out. See this O-ring right here, but just gently pry it and rock it back and forth, and it'll break free and come right out. And this, once these screws are loose on the part that's inside the pan, this is just free. Just comes right out. And there it is. The oil level sensor is removed from the car. And to put it back, it's just a reverse to put in your new one. Not hard at all. The hardest part was breaking the seal of the oil pan. That's pretty much it. Now that I have them out the car, this is the old one, this is the new one. And installation of the new one is just the reverse. Mind you that the shorter screws, just in case if you mix them up, when you remove this, when you remove the old sensor, the shorter of the screws goes on this side, the part that goes in, up in the oil pan, and the longer screws is for the part that extends out of the oil pan. These screws are relatively the same size, but on the side that goes out of the oil pan, the screws are slightly bigger if you compare them. Not too much, but a couple of millimeters bigger. So the short ones goes on this side, the part that goes inside the oil pan. The longer screws are for the part that sticks out of the oil pan. And on a note, I just make it a habit of cleaning up the mounting surfaces of everything before I put the new part in, because cleanliness is next to godliness, as they say. But it's best to keep this motor clean, so I'm gonna clean up everything before I put everything back. And that's pretty much it. Just remember to put a light bit of oil on the seal that goes into the sensor on this O-ring here before you push it through. This is the part that goes outside of the pan. So when you push it up, make sure you have a little light oil around this O-ring, and that's it. So hopefully this video was informative for those who want to try to do this. It's not hard, and it's not a major thing. Just in case your light comes on and you think you're out of oil, but as long as your motor's not knocking and or nothing, and you have good oil pressure, most likely it's just this sensor went bad and it just has to be replaced. All right, new sensors replaced, oil pan is back installed, and I have no leaks. Job complete. All right, so until next time, I'm out.